The system took one look and immediately set its eyes on me. Someone honest and well-behaved. It said that just by looking at me, I was clearly cut out to be a simp. So it picked 3 beautiful women for me, and told me to conquer one of them. However, to make absolutely sure nothing went wrong, I conquered all of them. I even went ahead and took in their whole best friends group as well. Unfortunately, an honest man can only date one. Because of this, I was troubled. I had no choice but to check their heartbeat values, to see whose was the highest so I could be with her. Who would have thought that when I opened it? All the heartbeat values were 0. I was filled with rage. Isn't this bullying someone as honest and well-behaved as me? Chapter 1. The system selected me as its designated conqueror. It gave me 3 beauties and told me to conquer one of them. One was a cold, aloof female boss. Another was a pretentious coquette. And the last was a pure college girl. I nodded obediently. When the system came to check the results, I opened my phone and showed it. Pinned at the top were the 3 of them. The system was utterly shocked. Aren't you going to explain this? I replied. Didn't you tell me to conquer them? I'm done. They're my girlfriends. The system flew into a rage, saying it was a pure love system, refusing threesomes, foursomes, anything beyond 1v1. It said I had ruined its reputation, and that it originally chose me because I looked honest and decent. Never imagining someone seemingly honest and harmless could actually pull something like this. So hurtful. I only look honest on the outside. There's a saying, more friends means more paths. Then having more partners also means more homes. Right. If I chose only one and she broke up with me, wouldn't that be a failed conquest? I was just leaving myself a way out. I completed the task so well that even though I didn't understand what the system didn't understand, I still obediently prepared to break up with 2 of them to achieve the 1v1 ending. So the system and I opened the affection value panel together. Displayed clearly were Willow, 0%, Sophia, 0%, Freya, 0%. Chapter 2. Those who toy with others will be toyed with in return. I couldn't sleep the whole night. Even the system couldn't help comforting me a little. I thought that with so many boats I stepped onto, at least one would be sincere. Turns out none of them were. This world is not friendly to me at all. I hate heartless players. 3 big fires ignited in my heart. One was for Willow, one was for Sophia, and the other was for Freya, who I hadn't yet gotten my hands on. Each of their profile pictures was different. In my message list, they had all sent good night at the same time. Willow wrote, good night, George. She's the one who loves to pretend, calm and elegant on the outside, but cold-hearted within. Behind my back, she's probably laughing at how gullible and easy to fool I am. Sophia wrote, see you tomorrow, hubby. She's the most pretentious coquette. Those charming, smiling eyes, appearing like a fake innocent angel in front of others. God knows how many men's cars she's gotten into behind my back. Freya wrote, good night, sweetie. Kiss. She's the most shameless, spending my money, clinging to me day and night, acting all cute and dependent. Yet in truth she's an ungrateful white-eyed wolf. I was furious, drinking to drown my sorrows, downing bottle after bottle, and posted a WeChat moment. Picture, JPG. Soon, replies appeared below. Willow asked, why did you drink so much? Sophia asked, hubby, what's wrong? Freya wrote, sweetie, don't be sad. Come here, let me hug you. So they weren't asleep. They were probably chatting with other men behind my back. Chapter 3. The 3 0% values almost made me go blind. All my efforts went to waste. What difference is there between this and finishing a work document without saving, only for the power to suddenly go out? This is nothing like the conquest I imagined. They lied to me, saying they liked me, but in reality, each one of them had no idea what kind of schemes she was planning. Setting aside the fact that I was dating 3 girls at the same time, does that mean they're deceiving my feelings and sincerity is not wrong? Besides, this is a conquest world. What if I dated 30 girls at once? Even then, they shouldn't deceive my genuine feelings. I wiped my tears and downed the liquor in one go. My tears soaked the instant noodles, and I swore I would never let women fool me again. A simp must awaken. An honest man must turn dark. Chapter 4. The system comforted me, saying, maybe it's just a bug. I had considered that possibility too, but the next day when I went to pick Willow up from work, that thought disappeared completely. The receptionist was familiar with me, and I moved through the company without hindrance. Right as I went upstairs, a woman's voice reached my ears. Are you talking about George? Hearing my own name, I instinctively paused and pricked up my ears. I frowned slightly. This kind of scene felt strangely familiar. The next second should be, she continued, he's honest, dependable, and responsible. He's a man you can entrust your life to. So it was my honest guy persona that had touched her. Willow's voice was cool and indifferent as she said, I don't want to be trapped by some arranged marriage between matching families. Honest men are easier to control anyway. Besides, Those rich heirs are all too unfaithful. She added, as for love, I'm not some love-brained fool. I'm way past the age of chasing romance. I don't need love, and I won't give love to anyone. The woman opposite her was probably her close friend. Her friend smiled lightly and said, "You say that, but aren't you afraid George will find out? Or is it that you've saved your real feelings for your ex, and you're just using your current boyfriend as a replacement sucker?" Willow replied unhappily, "He'll never find out." After hearing everything, I was utterly speechless. Conquering Willow took the most time. I studied countless strategies and finally discovered she enjoyed the training-like emotional manipulation style. So with her, my persona was that of a gentle, attentive, warm-hearted man, remembering all her preferences, cherishing every detail, and giving her emotional support. To satisfy her emotionally, my whole family practically treated her like some revered ancestor. In short, she successfully manipulated me, and I became her bottomless line simp. Except, I was simping for 3 people at the same time. I had only a little time to simp for her. The rest I had to run around and simp for others. Feeling incredibly heavy-hearted, I walked downstairs. Then I called Willow. She asked, "George, what's wrong?" "Truly good at pretending," I said. "Nothing. I just wanted to hear your voice." Willow spoke softly. "If you really want to marry me, you'll have to agree to 3 conditions. First, after marriage, you'll do all the housework. Second, all the family finances will be controlled by me. Third, the bride price will be $300,000, and the gold jewelry is counted separately. If you agree, then I'll agree to marry you." After saying that, she glanced at her friend, everything conveyed without words, as if telling her, "See, easy to control," and indeed, she had me in the palm of her hand. After all, my mother, who doesn't have much time left, said her last wish is to see the 2 of us get married. Chapter 5. On my side, I made an announcement. My terminally ill mother instantly jumped up from the hospital bed. She said, "Boss, are we not acting anymore?" I replied, "Yes, it's time for the final curtain." She wiped her pale face and said, I even thought your woman would come today, so I put on 3 layers of powder." I stuffed her payment into her hand. I also asked her to tell my dad and my sister that filming was wrapped and they could clock out too. Willow called me. "George, when we go see your mother later, let's discuss the engagement again." I replied, "No need." I sighed and said, "My mom is gone." Her voice trembled. "What?" I said. "My dad and my sister were too anxious after hearing the news. They rushed over and got into a car accident on the way. They're gone too." There was a long silence on the other end. Then Willow said, "George, don't joke around like that." "Heh, who's joking with you?" I said. "The crematorium already took them away before she passed. My mom told me to break up with you. Let's part ways peacefully." I choked up and continued. "She said a woman like you can't be my wife. She told me to think carefully. I don't want to break up with you either. But my mom said this was her last wish. If we stay together, I'd be the world's biggest unfilial son. During her 7-day soul return she'll definitely come find me." "Willow, I'm a mama's boy. I can't disobey my mom. We should break up." Before Willow could react, I quickly hung up the phone. I wiped away the non-existent tears at the corner of my eyes. Then I called out to the side, "Everyone, come get your wages." The woman who played my mother held the card with a delighted smile. She said, "Boss, you're too generous." I glanced at her. She said, "I get it." She wore a knowing expression. "Since I already went into the crematorium, your woman, or rather, that woman, will never find me." Chapter 6. Willow's calls came one after another. I didn't answer any of them, but unexpectedly, her close friend called me instead and told me everything she had overheard from Willow. She also told me that Willow's white horse prince was named Makoto. The 2 of them were perfectly matched, same family background, grew up together, shared interests, sharp and evenly matched. But right when they were about to end up together, something happened, and Makoto suddenly left the country without a word. Ever since then, Willow had strongly rejected the idea of marrying someone equally matched. That was why she chose me, who wasn't from a matching family. I was a little surprised. Not surprised about Willow's past, but surprised that the betrayal she suffered back then came so abruptly. The friend continued, "Intentionally or not, if you need, we can meet and talk. Actually, I've seen you before, and maybe Willow isn't the person most suited for you." I replied, "No need." I cut her off and sighed. "Willow and I already broke up. Maybe we really aren't suitable. Willow brings misfortune to men. My dad, mom, and sister are all gone. If we stay together and she brings misfortune to me next, what then? Anyway, I'm hanging up. I don't have the time to take in another one. Get in line, I'm very busy." I didn't block Willow, just ignored all her messages, and made an appointment with the next girl. Chapter 7. I glanced at the person in front of me. Sophia, a dazzling, flamboyant, pretentious and scheming coquette. The first time I saw her, I fell in love at first sight, and conquering her took a great deal of effort. Not only did I need to avoid Willow's sharp eyes, I also had to cater to Sophia's tastes. She had countless admirers, her pair of seductive, peach blossom eyes were truly beautiful. I spent no less time conquering her than I did with Willow, just to prove that, in my heart, the two of them held equal importance. I treated her so well, gave her double the time and sincerity. Whatever I gifted Willow, I gifted her too. Whatever I texted Willow, I texted her as well. I kept everything perfectly balanced. Anyone who saw it would praise. He's so considerate, and yet her affection value was still zero. Heartless player. Another heartless player. Sophia rested her chin on her hand and looked at me. What's wrong, hubby? You look unhappy. With Sophia, my persona was that of a playful delinquent. Sophia loved that type, because that day when I rented a luxury car, she accidentally rear-ended me with very calculated precision. I joked, "It's fine if you don't compensate me, but in return, you can let me bump into you too." She blushed and agreed. From that moment, I knew she was a pretentious coquette with schemes behind her smile. Based on my deduction, if 10 men driving luxury cars flirted with her, she'd add all 10 into her WeChat. Morning, afternoon, and evening, different passenger seats for different men, and then she'd still send me a "good night, hubby." The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became. The more I thought about it, the clearer everything became. So insightful, so enlightened. A sudden revelation. I must be the reincarnation of a wise old sage. Sophia didn't look like an honest woman at all. And how could someone who wasn't honest deserve someone extremely honest like me? The more I thought, the angrier I became. And I slapped Sophia across the face. The delinquent persona was great. I could vent my anger without her noticing anything odd. She probably even thought it was flirting. Seeing me suddenly lose my temper, Sophia thought I had heard some rumors. She hurriedly said, "Hubby, those things were all made up by others. You know I report everything to you every day." According to the usual plot, Sophia definitely also had some tragic backstory. And sure enough, her close friend betrayed her easily under my light prodding. Truly a Schrodinger's best friend, she said. Sophia once fell for a guy at first sight. His family wasn't well off, but he was very strong-willed. But after Sophia went abroad and returned, she never saw him again. He didn't hang around that area anymore, and no one knew where he went. Sophia kept missing him, until she met you. She pursed her lips and added, "It's because you look very much like him." I was speechless. The system couldn't help but pity me and said, "I thought you were the bad one, but it turns out they are the bad ones." What a battlefield of bad people. Chapter 8, the third one, the one that broke my emotional defenses the most. Freya. At that time, I already had Willow and Sophia, and still had a bit of spare money. So while wandering around the university district, I deliberately arranged an accidental encounter with Freya. She was wearing a white dress, obediently handing out flyers, innocent doe-like eyes, a few soft strands of hair falling beside her ear. This kind of pure, innocent girl was perfect for someone honest like me. She called me sweetie, sweetie every time she opened her mouth. I supported Freya with $2,000 a month. A broke guy like me was actually keeping a woman. Maybe I didn't notice Freya's logo-less haute couture. Maybe I overlooked her expensive necklace. Or maybe she acted so convincingly that I truly believed she was a poor college girl. Thinking back now, right, how could ordinary people look as if they were glowing from a distance? A female lead couldn't possibly have no background. When my private investigator told me who she really was, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. The heiress of the Mu family, a wealthy young lady. According to the investigator, she already had a princess temper back in school. Walking around pretending to be a poor, innocent girl was purely her personal quirk. Calling me sweetie so obediently was all hard acting. What about my 2,000? 2,000 is money too. A canary is still a bird. It's just the low-end version of 20 million and a golden canary. That was the best I could offer. You have no idea how much pain I felt every time I sent her money. And yet I still persisted, month after month. Doesn't that count as sincerity? I simply couldn't understand. The pretentious coquette draining my money was one thing. But how come both the rich female boss and the heiress also needed me to spend money on them? What kind of logic was that? I was deeply hurt. And since I was hurt, I tried to dig out Freya's backstory. Maybe she once had a crush who was poor, so she dressed up as a poor girl to reminisce about him. But after digging and digging, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Isn't that just pure madness? Chapter 9. In the past, I acted as their simp, their convenient tool, their walking ATM. I tailored different personalities and personas for each of them based on their preferences. Yet after giving them my time, effort, and sincerity, not a single one of them was truly sincere toward me. The system's Tao heart shattered. It said, "Why is this happening? It shouldn't be like this." I clearly selected excellent female leads. They were supposed to be gentle, considerate, and understanding. It rambled in confusion. None of the carefully selected, top-tier heroines delivered. The system cried miserably. It said, "This isn't the heroine persona I wanted." It was just a young, inexperienced little system. Its idea of a female lead was still stuck in who knows what ancient era. I said, "Human nature is complicated. We can't control the protagonist's genes mutating into heartless players." It said, "But you're also a player." I replied, "I'm not." It said, "You dated 3 women at once." "You are." I said, "Just tell me, was I sincere toward them or not?" The system hesitated, lost for words, because although I stood on 3 boats at the same time, I gave each of them real sincerity. A truly upright man never favors one boat over another. How could that possibly count as being a player? The system hesitated and said, "All right, they really weren't sincere toward you." I said, "Since I'm a good man, shouldn't I find a good woman?" It said, "Well, that's true." I asked, "Do you still have stock over there?" The system gave me a confused look. I added, "Just kidding." I wouldn't dare accept anything from the system anymore. Feeling pure-hearted and guilty, the system eventually agreed that I could conquer anyone I wanted, anyone at all. So when I began interacting with new people again, I simply no longer had time to deal with those old ones. Chapter 10. Sophia quickly sensed that something was off with me. After all, I had never given her the cold shoulder before, but this time, I was extremely perfunctory with her. My replies were only a few words at a time. Haha. Okay. Sophia couldn't stand it and tried to retaliate with the same coldness. But when she realized I didn't care at all, even switching to single-word replies, she emotionally broke down. Sophia texted, "Hubby, if I can't see you I'll die." Sob sob. This kind of flirting trick between couples was normal. In the past, I would comfort her in all kinds of ways. Now, I replied, "Then go die." Sophia froze. She reread those 3 cold words several times, "Then go die." It struck her like a bolt of lightning. Sophia called me. I declined. After she called n times without stopping, I apologized briefly to the new girl beside me and stood up. I said, "Say it quickly." She said, "George, why are you?" I cut her off. "Since you called, I'll speak frankly. I have a psychological cleanliness obsession. I prefer girls who are clean every day and night with you." I forced myself to accept it, then told myself to let it go. It tortured me. I sighed. "Sophia, I'm sorry. Let's break up. My mom said white paper should match with white paper, and newspaper should match with newspaper. I'm a mama's boy. I can't disobey my mom." Then I hung up. The system was stunned. It said, "Can that reason even work? What if Sophia is a clean and good girl? Then the breakup reason wouldn't make sense." This time, I genuinely laughed. I said, "Don't make me laugh." Chapter 11. But what I didn't expect was that Sophia waited downstairs for an entire day, just to see me when I came home. I was humming a tune when I saw a beautiful silhouette in the distance. One glance and my soul was almost hooked away. When I snapped back to reality, the figure had already flashed right in front of me. Sophia's eyes were red as she said, "Where were you? I couldn't find you anywhere. You didn't go to the place we first met, or the place we had our first date, or where we first." I stopped her in time. Her words were getting too jaw-dropping. I said, "Because we already broke up. My mom said I can't be with you. I'm a mama's boy. I can't go against her." She threw herself into my arms, burying her face in my chest. "Hubby, don't treat me like this. I can't take it when you ignore me. I feel like I'm dying." No matter what I said, Sophia wouldn't listen. She clung to me like sticky candy, refusing to let go. If she doesn't get put in her place, she really forgets who she is. Chapter 12. I yanked her away and pushed her out. My true nature was exposed. Since everything was already over, exposing it didn't matter anymore. We honest people are not that easy to bully. I said, "I don't want a woman who's been tainted. Who knows if you were dumped by some random guy out there before suddenly remembering to come back to me." Sophia looked bitter. Her throat went dry. Hearing that, her eyes nearly rolled back. She almost fainted. She said, "I didn't." I said coldly, "You did." "I really didn't." "You did." Sophia closed her eyes. She said, "George." I looked at her in confusion. She bit her lip and said, "I always thought you knew. My first time was with you. No one has ever touched me. You're even my first boyfriend." I gave her a doubtful look. It was as if she had suffered enormous humiliation. She said, "You can insult my character, but you cannot insult my first time." I asked, a little suspicious, "Really?" She nodded. "Really? If I'm lying, may I be hit by a car, electrocuted, pecked to death by birds, drowned, trip myself by stepping on my own feet and die?" I was still half believing, half doubting, seeing that I still wore that "how is that possible" expression. Sophia's eyes finally turned red with frustration. She started rambling again, swearing in every possible way. I decided to allow her near me, for now, even if she's a heartbreaker. She has to be clean, because right now I'm traumatized by 3-0 scores, and my misophobia is extremely severe. Sophia was so moved she burst into tears. She choked out that she absolutely only had me, absolutely only dated me, absolutely treated me as her most beloved treasure. I didn't accept the last sentence. My most beloved treasure isn't her, but I didn't say it. I sized her up subtly. Sophia immediately said, I've been working on keeping my shape the whole time. I never let myself go. That would do. Chapter 13. The topic returned to Willow, whom I had broken up with. Citing the reason of her being a husband killer, I had set all her messages to do not disturb. An absurd and strange reason. Husband killer. And then I dumped her. Willow's face flushed red. On the first day, she waited for George to take the initiative and reconcile. Nothing happened. On the second day, she decided to give George a bit of face and sent him a message to offer him an easy way out. She wasn't blocked. Sure enough, George loved her, and his breakup wasn't genuine. But George ignored her. Of the 10 messages she sent, he selectively replied to only 2, as if graciously bestowing a favor, either haha or hee. Willow texted, George, let's meet and have a proper talk. George replied, haha. Willow texted, George, I don't know about your mother. Let's talk. Okay. George replied, hee. She actually went to the hospital, but it seemed that no one remembered that there had ever been a terminally ill mother and her devoted son. The past should leave traces, and logically, she should have been able to find something out. But unfortunately, her opponent was the system, a system that had just been stunned by a heartbreaker. So she found nothing. Willow texted, if we keep going like this, our feelings will die out. Don't you really want to see that happen? George replied, unsubscribe. Willow had a bad premonition. Actually, it wasn't their relationship that was dying. It was George's feelings for her that were fading, because she just couldn't let go. Did George care? Clearly, he didn't care. For several days, Willow's face was clouded with gloom. But even so, she never reflected on what was wrong with her demands. Instead, she comforted herself by thinking George was just upset over his mother's passing and that after some time, everything would be fine. Their relationship was still unbreakable. George loved her that much. Willow still held onto a bit of hope, until a private investigator brought a photo. After seeing the photo, she felt like she had died inside. In the photo, George was standing very close to another woman. They were both smiling widely. The shameless woman seemed to be flirting with him, while George appeared effortlessly suave and calm. No, this wasn't right. Willow angrily slapped herself. She had become obsessed with seeing a cheating photo. It hadn't been like this at the beginning. She was the one in control, the dominant one, the one on top. Willow pressed her lips tightly together and began dialing frantically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No one answered. What did this mean? What did it really mean? Finally, a call was answered, almost grudgingly. On the other end, George casually said, "What's the matter? Can you stop being paranoid? Find something to do. If you can't find anything, just scroll through your phone." Willow trembled with anger and threw her phone. Actually, I hadn't decided how to deal with Willow yet. This woman was skilled in pickup artistry. Clearly an age gap relationship. She had pursued me first, but in the end, I was the one acting like a simp, spending money on her. After all, men should spend money when pursuing women, but when women pursue men, they're actually giving men a chance to chase them. So, men should still spend money. This is probably the dilemma of men. So, even though I had said we were breaking up, I would still reply when she was about to snap, just to keep her dangling. Let her ponder over my responses while having no time to figure out where I actually was. This was a strategy. Chapter 14. As for Freya, she lied to me, and she did it convincingly, pretending to be a poor girl. She played the part quite well, but I've seen through them all, whether they're short on cash or not. They instinctively want to see men spend money on them and feel justified doing so. I suppressed my displeasure, sighed, and said, "Freya, I might not be able to support you anymore." Freya froze. I spoke sincerely. "I got fired. I'm only making $2,500 a month now. If I give you $2,000, I won't even have enough left for food." With Freya, my character was that of a deep, affectionate supporting male character who made $3,000 a month and was willing to spend $2,000 on her. Isn't it extra deep and affectionate that I was willing to spend that much? Freya, with her eyes narrowed into a smile, said, "It's okay. I'm doing part-time work now, and I make a decent amount. I can also support Sweetie. Damn, am I finally going to see some money returned to me?" I wanted to shake her shoulders and shout, "Heartbreaker, pay me back," and then tell her to get lost. But I couldn't. I'm the deep, affectionate supporting male character. So I moistened my eyes and said, "My mom was right. A virtuous wife is worth more than 1,000 gold. My mom said that nowadays, girls who are willing to put in effort in both directions are rare. You're so different." I always listen to my mom. Freya, I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay here and suffer with you. Didn't they say women shouldn't suffer with men? Well, I'll suffer with a woman instead. Let's see how much suffering there really is. Freya still had a thick stack of flyers in her hands, so I sat there and watched her hand out flyers for 5 hours. During that time, I finished 2 apples, ate 3 burgers, and cleaned out the pancake stall I passed by. Freya couldn't stop. She couldn't get angry, and she definitely couldn't take out her Apple phone. She worked for 5 hours straight, and I watched the whole thing, until she handed out the last flyer. I immediately gave her some emotional value. Freya, you're amazing. Freya couldn't help but smile and said, I saw a restaurant online yesterday that looks really good. I've never been there with anyone. Would you like to go with me? Freya, having been pampered, was completely dizzy. She spent all the money she earned from handing out flyers. She even had to pay some extra. 5 hours of work, all for nothing. Freya was speechless. I asked, why aren't you eating? She said, I'm not hungry, because after 5 hours of standing, her muscles were stiff, and Freya had never felt this bad about money before. She was probably starving. I continued eating a lot, not leaving a single bit. Heh, now I finally understand how good it feels to spend someone else's money. Chapter 15. Out of the 3 of them, Sophia had the most talent. She quickly accepted my true nature. I thought she might have some sort of tendency or trait that led her to this. That's right, otherwise, how could she fall for a delinquent like me? I found it easiest to get along with her, because I could take advantage of the situation and play around with my character design. Even now, after my true nature was exposed, she still seemed to enjoy it. I had a sudden inspiration. Could we perhaps do something like a bondage theme? It didn't seem like she'd be surprised. Sophia asked, Honey, what are you thinking about? I said, Thinking about you. Sophia froze, then kissed my neck with affection. She said, Honey, I'm so happy. What? Is being tied up really that happy? I didn't know what she was so happy about. George. A sharp voice interrupted the moment between Sophia and me. Chapter 16. Not far away, a woman wearing a black mermaid dress got out of a car. Her face flushed. She was clearly heading to some kind of party. Willow, indeed, was heading to a party. Halfway through the drive, she casually glanced outside the window and saw a scene that would stay with her forever. A strange, smelly woman was kissing George. In an instant, her blood rushed to her head. Willow almost passed out. In a panic, she urgently called for the driver to stop the car and rushed out, heading straight for the other woman. She gritted her teeth and shouted, George, come here. I didn't move. This was the first time I'd seen Willow after I set her messages to Do Not Disturb. She looked like she was about to go mad. She screamed. You gave me the cold shoulder just for her. I cleared my throat and said, I just didn't want to say anything that might hurt you. Rather than making us both sad, it's better to say nothing. She shrieked. Is that your reason for cold shouldering me? I've given you so much, and this is how you repay me. Cheating's bad enough, but what's this? Is this the third mistress? I was taken aback, but I still had to refute part of her statement. I said, do you know how many people I have to block if I post a WeChat update about you? You think I haven't put in any effort? Sophia, who had just been confused and was now slowly realizing that I might not just have one girlfriend, couldn't help but react with a reflexive laugh. Her voice soft as she said, Why are you shouting so loudly? Willow, with the mindset of chasing after the second woman, I ended up capturing the heart of the third woman, making her so angry that her face turned pale. Her elegant mermaid dress, now twisted with her distorted expression, looked especially ridiculous. Willow asked, George, be honest with me. How many women do you have? I lowered my head and didn't answer. Willow, with red eyes, screamed, Answer me. Sophia, who couldn't hold back any longer, snorted and said, Can you have some class? Stop yelling like that. Willow cursed. Bitch, playing the role of the rightful wife. No one expected it, but Willow slapped Sophia across the face. Sophia had had enough. She shot back, Are you crazy? You're the one who's a bitch, and you're the one who's the mistress. Everyone knows that. The two of them started tearing into each other. I stood there with my hands in my pockets, thought for a moment. Anyway, their character designs were all pretty cheap. Playing with heartless women won't get me punished by the law. My phone rang. I looked down to check. Oh, there's one even cheaper. Freya, pretending to be a poor college girl, was smugly sending me messages. She said, Sweetie, I'm done with my part-time job. I'm free now. Freya's best friend glanced at the message and frowned. Freya, this guy looks like a player. Don't get played in the end. Freya replied, What do you know? He can't live without me. Freya took a sip of her milk tea and said, Eyes full of hope. If a man likes you, he'll want to spend money on you. Give you the best of everything. I've tested him. He makes 3,000 and spends 2,000 on me. You have no idea how much he loves me. She didn't mention that I was the one suffering with her, watching her stand for 5 hours a day. However, by the end, Freya didn't receive a message from me. What had just come out of my mouth was the slap of rejection. Freya was speechless. She held back her temper and made a call. It was rejected. She called again, rejected again, called again, still rejected. Her best friend asked, "What's going on?" Freya covered, "Nothing. My phone's broken." Her best friend, with a meaningful look, said, "Oh, so it's just the phone that's broken. I thought George was hanging up on you." Freya rolled her eyes and said, "Hang up on me? He loves me so much. How could he hang up on me? It's just a problem with the phone." Freya paused. Then, suddenly realizing something, she sneered. "Wait, what did you just call him?" Chapter 17. I stood at the door of the hospital ward. Inside the ward, there were 2 beds, Freya on the left, and her best friend on the right. Both of them had a series of scratches, slap marks, and bruises on their heads, necks, abdomen, and legs. I subtly glanced at the ward number. It was a crazy coincidence. The next room was where Sophia and Willow were. Both of them had ended up in the hospital after a fight. As soon as Freya saw me, she eagerly called out, "Sweetie," but the movement pulled at her wounds, and she couldn't help but hiss in pain. Her best friend quietly stayed by her side, silent, looking even worse. Her whole body was covered in bruises, and the swelling on her face hadn't even gone down. I asked, "What happened? How did you two end up fighting?" From the looks of it, the fight was intense enough to land both of them in the hospital. Neither had held back. Her best friend spoke softly. "It's nothing. We just had a little disagreement." Honestly, compared to Freya, she seemed like a completely different person. I asked with interest, "What's your name?" Her eyes brightened slightly as she replied, "Anna." Nice name. She had that leading lady vibe. Could be a potential target for a mission or conquest. Freya's murderous glare fell on her, but when she saw me, she reined it in. She said, "Sweetie, weren't you here to see me?" Her tone was tinged with a hint of grievance. I noticed the earring on her left ear. The system told me that the price of that earring was worth 10 years of my salary. I instantly felt a surge of indignation, so I ignored her and turned my attention to Anna, saying, "Rest up and recover." Chapter 18. As soon as I closed the door, Freya immediately raised her hand to slap Anna. She shouted, "I treated you like a best friend, and you're out here flirting with George behind my back." Anna smiled as she shook her phone, showing the contact list on the screen. She said, "Go ahead, hit me. Let's see if George doesn't pick up your calls. But will he pick up mine? If he knew your true nature, do you think he'd still want to be with you?" Freya was stunned. "You still have his number?" Anna rolled her eyes. "Why wouldn't I have it? He makes 3,000 a month, and you're totally fine taking 2,000 from him. You've been deceiving him, and now you're mad he's not talking to someone who should be talking to him." Freya bit her lip tightly. After a long pause, she coldly snorted, "Don't act like he's spending money on me out of love. Without me, he'd still spend money on others when he dates. I don't even need money from him. All I want is his attitude. If he loves me, he'll give me the best of everything." Anna responded, "Then if you love him, why would you be okay with him spending his money on you?" Freya was momentarily speechless. Anna continued, "Love is about genuinely wanting to make the other person happy, and it also brings disappointment when you don't get the same response. That's the truth. But what you want isn't love. It's your idealized version of love." Freya retorted, "So what? As long as he loves me, that's enough." I admit, I'm a little spoiled and throw tantrums sometimes, but George loves me just the way I am. He said before, his love for me is pure, and if he loves me, he'll accept everything about me. I was standing outside the ward, listening. I think she might have forgotten that she still had a pretty good face. With that face, of course, I could say any nonsense I wanted. Later, when I found out she was a rich heiress, I did some research on her. I discovered that on social media, Freya gave off this vibe of, "I don't need money, but I need lots and lots of love." Then it clicked. She was simply brainwashed by toxic, spiritual quotes and was always playing games to test my obedience. I was busy, so I didn't have time to care about her childish fantasies and family issues. I said those things just to get her into my hands. Who would have known that her family issues were actually real? I used to think she had a great face. Now, I think she might as well just disappear. Chapter 19. The atmosphere in the other ward wasn't much better either. The ward was overcrowded, and there were no single rooms available. Willow and Sophia had to share a room. At least when they fought, they had some sense of moderation. After all, they weren't that young anymore. Having seen youthful and lively people, I couldn't help but click my tongue. Willow's brows were furrowed, and she relentlessly asked, "George, I'll ask you just one thing, and you answer me, who's the mistress?" The older they got, The more they cared, the younger ones didn't bother. But the older ones were the ones making a fuss, to be blunt. At this age, still insisting on knowing who the mistress is, really, the older you get, the more stubborn you become. Does it really matter who the mistress is? There's no mistress if there's no legitimate wife. It's just that I'm single, she's single, you're single, and she's also single, we're all just single, that's all. Sophia scoffed lightly. Of course it's you. How long have I known George? And how long have you known him? When I was in a strong, committed relationship with George, you were probably still on blind dates. George is not going to date you, this old woman, instead of me. And you, always acting like an independent, successful woman, how shameless can you be? Aren't you afraid your image will crash all over the news? Willow's face turned red with anger. She shouted, "Shut up, George, tell her. How long have we been together? We've already picked out an engagement ring. You, someone who's not even worth being called a proper person, just barging into someone else's relationship. How haven't you been hit by a car yet?" Sophia immediately fired back. An engagement ring. We've already decided on names for our future kids. Do you think an engagement ring is worth anything? The keys to his luxury car are still in my hands. Well, Willow replied. He said he's going to buy me a house and put it in my name. Sophia retorted, I only have to say one word, and he'll give me land. What's your crappy house even worth? I was speechless, listening to them argue like they were at a market fighting over discounted eggs. I told them both to shut up. They instantly fell silent and turned to look at me in unison. After a moment of contemplation, I decided to use my diplomatic skills. I said, neither of you is the mistress, but the effect wasn't great. I had to resort to the avoidance method. I said, I think the doctor's calling me. I'll go check. Chapter 20. I had just dealt with one situation when another one broke out. Freya kicked Anna out of the ward, claiming that Anna had left on her own. Then she started acting pitiful and tried to coax me over. Dealing with the older ones was already annoying enough, and now I had to handle the younger one too. I said, you're the Mu family's heiress, right? I wasn't going to beat around the bush, so I said it directly. Freya Mu's face instantly turned pale. It was as if she wasn't prepared to be exposed. Her innocent, pitiful expression shifted from one face to another. I said, let's break up. Freya finally snapped out of her daze and realized that her lie was no longer working. She shouted, sweetie, sweetie. Freya, flustered, rushed forward and wrapped her arms around my waist. She said, sweetie, listen to me. Please listen to me. Okay. I smiled and said, no. Haven't I been good to you these past few years? Haven't you been comfortable enough? What's there to talk about? 2,000. That's 2,000. From now on, I only want this kind for free. I said, let's not meet again in the future. Freya looked a little panicked. Her instincts told her that if she didn't do something now, I might really walk away. Everything she had said to Anna before was just for show. Now she wasn't sure whether George would actually leave her. She said, sweetie, it's all my fault. All my fault. My family has money. Lots of money. I'll give it all to you. I'll give it all to you. Okay, please don't leave me. Don't abandon me. I was speechless. She had been deceiving me on the outside and pretending to be weak in the ward, but now she was the one begging me. Chapter 21. Freya kept persistently clinging to me. After bringing the two girls water in the ward, I completely forgot about them, but when I was tangled up again, I found myself struggling more and more with time management. So troublesome, I couldn't even be bothered to make up any more lies. The system advised me. I told you, women can only be exquisite, not numerous. I said, what if looks and family background are all top-notch, but we ignore character? The system pondered for a moment and said, indeed, many exquisite people with good looks and family background can be considered to be worthy of you. They must be the very best in this world. Let's just keep playing the game and throwing them away until we find the very best. This way, we can still achieve a 1v1 ending. It was still so fixated on the perfect 1v1 happy ending. Why were there so many women around me? After thinking for a while, I secretly contacted Willow's dream guy. Makoto was truly her dream man, handsome, with well-defined features. He had already returned to his home country. Makoto laughed and said, do you need me to help you get Willow out of the picture? He raised a finger and added, I can, but I have one small request. I quickly nodded. He handed me a bottle of milk and said, I'm quite interested in you. Your looks fit my aesthetic. I was dumbfounded. He then spoke in a higher-pitched voice. Handsome, would you like to give it a try with me? I immediately fled. As for dealing with Sophia, it was even more troublesome, because as I investigated, I realized her crush seemed to be on me, rushing to win me over. Just like Willow, the more I looked, the more it made my heart race. At this point, wasn't it even harder to shake her off? Chapter 22. No matter what I said, Sophia kept following me around. Ever since the incident in the hospital ward, it felt like she had been enveloped by a halo of saintliness. She found many excuses for my actions. She said, "I know. It's because I haven't spent enough time with you. If someone else can be there for you, I'll be happy." She said, "What's the harm in spending money outside? As long as you turn around, you'll always have a home waiting for you with the lights on." Was her brain kicked by a mule? Every time she appeared, Freya, who had been persistently clinging to me, completely lost it. "She's who?" Freya's eyes were red. Sophia, unfazed, gently linked her arm with mine. She said, "Honey, I told you not to mess with college girls. They're the hardest to handle." I pulled my hand away. It felt a bit disgusting. Her tone sounded like the desperate housewife who has been cheated on 365 days a year, pleading with her husband not to forget there's still a home waiting for him. When she was deceiving me with her affections, she did a decent job of it. Finally, Freya realized what was happening. Her eyes went dark, and she almost passed out. She leaned against the wall, gasping for air, and asked what was going on. Sophia, surprised, said, "Honey, doesn't she know?" I paused for a moment. It seemed I had forgotten to inform her. I said, "It doesn't matter. I wasn't planning on continuing with her anyway." Freya shouted, "No, this is important, very important." Freya was stomping her feet in anger, stomping so hard that she ended up hurting herself and yelping in pain. After a while, she was trembling all over. She said, "George, are you really playing with me?" Freya's tears fell down in large drops. It seemed like she didn't want to cry, but no matter how hurriedly she wiped them away, the tears kept flowing like a broken tap. With that pretty, innocent face that looked like a good girl, she was both pitiful and hateful. My first reaction was guilt, but my second reaction was, who's really better here? She pretended to be good, deceived me with her feelings, fabricated a backstory to gain my sympathy, and I even spent money on her, and now she's crying. Sophia, watching her rival with a dumbfounded look on her face, almost wanted to laugh. She was much easier to handle than that old pretentious coquette, Willow. Thinking of Willow, Sophia felt her teeth grinding with hatred. Shameless. Why didn't she just go die? Sophia thought to herself, looking at Freya with more favor. This college girl's pride was so strong. It was clear she couldn't accept George having multiple girlfriends. With just a little guidance, she could completely disappear from George and her life. Freya didn't know if she was exhausted from crying or just numb from it. She strangely calmed down. I thought for a moment and said succinctly, "Let's break up." At the same time, Freya's calm voice rang out, and she said, "I want to stay with you." I was left speechless. Sophia was left speechless. Freya stared at me, her gaze unwavering. She said, "I won't break up." Sophia's expression cracked slightly. She struggled to maintain a good image in front of me and gently said, "You're still young. Don't go down the wrong path. No matter how excellent or outstanding someone else's husband is, he's still someone else's husband." Her implication was clear. How shameless to go after someone else's husband. What does it matter how good someone else's husband is to you? Freya, puffed up with anger, retorted, "What's it to you when I'm talking to Sweetie? You're so old. Just go die already." Back to calling me Sweetie. On one hand, showing her rebellious nature, and on the other hand, calling me Sweetie. Sophia smiled, but her entire body was trembling with anger. She was cursing in her mind. She lumped Freya and Willow together, but Freya had one advantage over Willow, and she had to keep a close watch on it. She was younger than Willow, and yet, George's gaze wavered. That's right, it was me. After watching this Freya for so long, I found myself unexpectedly developing some different feelings for her. Sophia quietly thought to herself, "This is bad. People who pretend to be magnanimous are the easiest to break down." But she endured it. It was fine. There was plenty of time. She would drive every fly around George away, one by one. Chapter 23. In the end, given that I hadn't changed my ways, especially with the system's support to do whatever I wanted, the three of them decided to sit down and have a good talk with me. My intention was simple. If you can't stand it, just leave. Willow, clearly acting like she was in charge, said, "Are you all deaf?" George already said, "If you can't take it, just leave." Sophia softly said, "Shameless, aren't you the one who should leave?" Freya's little leg secretly brushed against me under the table. I was speechless. What a lamp under the black, playing the role of the obedient one. They reached an agreement. Each of them could stay by my side. But I had to choose who to spend time with every day. Chapter 24. This system is quite troublesome. I still instinctively want to treat everyone equally, because I am a very good man. A good man treats everyone with the same care. Willow and Sophia, the old residents of the palace, have no new tricks, just good at whispering in people's ears. Freya, the newcomer, knows how to stir things up. When I turned to her sign, Freya was sitting next to me, scrolling through videos. 3 signs that a dog is a good dog. I glanced over when I heard her. She pretended her phone was casually playing this kind of content. Freya, all clingy, said. Sweetie. I pushed her away. No sense at all. Didn't you see I was busy? Being clingy is fine, but being overly clingy and turning into a sticky mouse trap is her fault. Chapter 25. The pure 1v1 system kept insisting. It was really good at convincing itself. It said, anyway, you haven't given anyone a definite title yet. As long as that title isn't settled, everything is 1v1 and the heartless women don't deserve any sympathy. That made a lot of sense. I wholeheartedly agreed. Heartless women only deserve revenge. But I still couldn't resist tweaking my own image. I said, my love is scattered, but my heart is true. From then on, I didn't have to look at the heartfelt value anymore, because deep down, I didn't care about their feelings at all.